A very warm welcome. You are watching GRAVITAS. I'm Molly Kampir. Let's get started. Our top focus tonight in major updates that came in just a short while back. Iran's negotiating team is reportedly stopping message exchanges with the United States through mediators over attacks on Lebanon. It is a major setback. And what does this mean for West Asia at such a crucial juncture? Also, is Iran preparing for a new war against crumbling America? We're decoding all of this for you in just a bit. Also on the show for you tonight, what is the story behind Hezbollah's night hunter weapons? How do they work and what have they meant for the IDF? We tell you all that you need to know. A new report reveals how Iran's attack earlier resulted in a massive toxic cloud comparable to a volcanic eruption. All this and lots more coming up. If you are unsure about your goals in the first place, how exactly do you expect to achieve them? Amid all the back and forth and the series of questions over Trump's Iran war goals comes a major report that brings epic embarrassment for America's Operation Epic Fury. But before we get to that, a quick update on where the talks stand. Well, they stand nowhere. It's a major deadlock as per the latest in what seems to be a major setback for Donald Trump. Just a short while back, Iran's Tasneem news agency reportedly saying Iran's negotiating team is stopping message exchanges with the US through mediators over attacks on Lebanon. And this comes as the situation in West Asia turns increasingly precarious. Meanwhile, according to a CNN report, Iran has now unblocked 50 out of the 69 tunnel entrances struck by the US and Israel at 18 underground missile facilities. And there are major implications. According to the report, experts have pointed out that Iran is poised to fire far more long-range missiles at Israel and other West Asian nations after rapidly digging out its buried arsenal. An effort that reportedly highlights the limits to US bombing strategy. Remember, one of the few things that Donald Trump has remained consistent about is how he has spoken about Iran's arsenal of missiles as the reason for the war and its destruction as one of the key goals, according to him. But where does this new report leave the United States and Donald Trump's chest thumping about achieving the war goals? According to the report, there is also concern being raised by analysts that the threat posed by the arsenal is being underestimated, especially because of the dwindling supply of the US missile interceptors. And this comes at a point when the impact of the Iran war on America's stockpile has been a mounting concern. Earlier, an assessment brought with it an ominous warning for the United States. US military contractors need at least 3 years to replenish stockpiles of 3 key weapon systems used heavily in the Iran war. According to analysis released earlier, in fact, adding to concerns that American forces would have limited firepower in any future conflict with China. The weapon systems, in fact, are Tomahawk cruise missiles, which are used to strike targets deep inside enemy territory, and Patriot and Thar interceptors that defend against incoming missiles and drones. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies report, the United States has enough munitions for any plausible scenario in the Iran war, but the depleted inventories have created a window of vulnerability for a potential Western Pacific conflict. Adding that the time needed to rebuild those inventories has thus become a major concern. Just to give you a sense of how expensive the war has been for the United States, remember how the bunker buster bombs dominated headlines as America hit Iran's underground missile sites with them? Defense analysts reportedly estimating that each bunker buster bomb can cost around $288,000. Not just that, according to a Bloomberg report from earlier in the year, the Patriot missile defense system, a complete system reportedly costing about $1 billion, and its interceptor missiles reportedly costing about $4 million apiece. The report says the U.S. launched about 800 interceptor missiles in just the opening week of the war with Iran, costing more than $3 billion itself. According to a CSIS report, the unit cost of THAAD missiles, for example, is reportedly $12.8 million. The unit cost for SM-3 runs from $8 million to $25 million, from $8 million to $25 million, depending on the variant. The analysis by CSIS factors in the Republican Trump administration's historic $1.5 trillion defense budget proposal for 2027, which significantly accelerates spending on high-end munitions that started under the Democratic Biden administration. So according to the report, the message is quite clear. While there is bipartisan agreement in the Congress to boost inventories, the problem today is not the money, it's the time. Meanwhile, America reportedly bombed Iranian radar and drone control sites after Tehran shot down an American drone over the weekend. Iran reportedly confirmed the strike and said it had responded. But what does all of this mean for the increasingly fragile ceasefire amid Donald Trump staying optimistic over prospects of a deal to end the war, and now with the latest development of Iran reportedly freezing the talks with the United States? All wars come with a huge cost for those fighting the war and, of course, for those impacted by it. And the price and pain of this Iran war is being felt around the world for months. The West Asia war carries enormous costs, just like any other, but for Donald Trump, it's a cost that keeps piling up on top of the long list of questions staring at him. And the war between Israel and Lebanon is entering a dangerous new phase. Meanwhile, Israel is pushing deeper into territory, capturing key locations packed with history and strategic value. But as the troops advance, Hezbollah is striking back with weapons designed to hunt in the dark. And now a new battlefield is emerging, one where castles, drones, and air defenses collide. Our next report telling you more.
It stands high above the hills of southern Lebanon. A fortress that has watched centuries of war unfold. Kings fought for it, crusaders fortified it, empires coveted it. Now the medieval Beaufort Castle is under Israeli occupation. The 889-year-old castle is a strategic hilltop stronghold, a position that dominates vast stretches of terrain. PM Netanyahu is hailing his forces, saying they are stronger than ever in its fight against Hezbollah.
Now, my instruction is to deepen and expand our hold on the places that were under Hezbollah's control. The capture of Beaufort is a dramatic stage, a dramatic shift in the policy that we are leading.
Israeli forces are pushing deeper into southern Lebanon. Displaced Lebanese sheltering in a school in Sidon fear more troubling time ahead.
It is now impossible for us to return home. The city has suffered widespread destruction, and we have lost many relatives and loved ones.
It is nothing new for the Israelis to carry out such incursions. They will eventually withdraw under the blows of the resistance. All we can do is remain patient until we return to our villages. Without a doubt, we will return with our heads held high.
Israeli actions have drawn global condemnation. French President Emmanuel Macron has called UNSC meeting. Macron held talks with leaders of Saudi Arabia, Oman, UAE and Egypt. As Israeli troops tighten their grip, Hezbollah is escalating its response. The group has increasingly relied on attack drones and precision strikes to challenge Israeli operations. Security analysts say some of Hezbollah's latest drone systems are specially designed for night operations, allowing them to evade detection longer and exploit gaps in surveillance. Hezbollah also released footage it claims shows one of its drones striking an Israeli Iron Dome battery. Israeli strikes in Lebanon have killed more than 2,700 people since 2nd March, including a dozen since the April 17th ceasefire brokered by Washington between Israeli and Lebanese representatives. The Israeli military says it has also lost at least 24 soldiers and a civilian contractor in the fighting. Bureau Report WION, World is One.
The criticism over the last 20 months has been that we're a one-man band.
Our next story is from the UK. It's about a teenager's murder, a sacred article of faith, and a political battle over religious freedom and public safety. In the UK, a case that started out as a tragic killing is now sparking a national debate about where religious rights end and public security begins. The story centers on the murder of an 18-year-old university student in Southampton last December. A court has now found British-born Sikh Vikram Singh guilty of stabbing the teenager to death using a 21-centimeter kirpan. His mother, Kiran Kaur, was also convicted after being found guilty of helping remove the weapon from the scene. The verdict has done more than close a criminal trial. It has opened a much larger conversation and debate about the kirpan itself, which is an object that is both a blade and a sacred symbol, of course. For observers unfamiliar with the Sikh faith, the kirpan is not simply a knife, it's one of the 5 articles of faith. It symbolizes duty, justice, courage, and also the responsibility to protect the weak. And for many Sikhs, wearing a kirpan is not just a choice of accessory, but also an expression of religious identity. British law has long recognized that distinction, in fact. Under the Criminal Justice Act of 1988, Sikhs are exempt from certain restrictions on carrying blades in public. The law accepts that a kirpan may be carried for religious reasons, but as certain items may be worn as part of national or cultural dress. However, the legal protection applies to possession and not misuse. The moment it is used in an act of violence, it is treated as an offensive weapon under the law. And that distinction is now at the heart of a political storm in the UK. Following the conviction, Reform UK, the party led by Farage, has called for the religious exemption to be reviewed or removed. Senior party figures arguing that no bladed object should be exempt from public carry laws, regardless of its religious significance. In fact, they say this case, according to them, has exposed a gap in the law that needs to be closed. Supporters of the current legislation disagree. Sikh organizations have reportedly warned against using a single criminal case to judge an entire community or a religious practice observed peacefully for generations. And they argue that the issue is not about the kirpan itself, but the individual who chose to abuse its legal and spiritual purpose, according to them. The debate has also raised concerns about community relations in the aftermath of the trial. The UK Sikh Federation wrote to the government seeking greater recognition of anti-Sikh hate crimes. They are seeking one which is similar to recognizing anti-Jewish and anti-Muslim incidents, reportedly. So this case is not just a murder investigation. It's a national discussion about faith, law, security, and identity. Our next story is from India. The Congress has ushered in a change of guard in Karnataka, with Siddaramaiah stepping down as the Chief Minister, with DK Shivakumar set to take oath as the new Chief Minister on the 3rd of June. An astrologer has come into focus for reportedly predicting his elevation as Chief Minister 40 years ago. He's also known as Belur Dwarkanath, regarded as a long-term astrologer of the Karnataka Congress chief. And speaking to the media, he claimed that he predicted Shivakumar becoming the chief minister 4 decades ago, when the Congress leader first visited him. Listen to this.
God must have given him the position of chief minister earlier itself, about at least 1 year earlier. I am sorry to admit that it did not happen last year. It is coming now. Though it is delayed, God will not deny anybody. What is his share, God will definitely give. For that, the first example is DK Shivakumar.
And crucially, his remarks coming just a few days ahead of Shivakumar's elevation as the Congress Legislative Party leader, and the Bengaluru-based astrologer also claiming that Shivakumar makes key political moves only after speaking to him, consulting him. Not just that, he envisaged the Congress leader returning as the state's chief minister after the 2028, after the assembly elections in the state as well. Listen to this now.
Without talking to me, he won't go anywhere. Every morning, at least in 3 days a week, he definitely will speak to me. I will also speak to him. If he doesn't call me, also I will call him. Where are you? What are you doing? I'll ask him. Because I don't know, I'm very fond of him.
Now, the thing is, the prominence of astrologers in political circles is not restricted to Karnataka, of course. A few weeks ago, the controversy that rocked Tamil Nadu, remember, after Vijay's personal astrologer was appointed as officer on special duty to the chief minister. And he had reportedly predicted Vijay's victory about a year ago. And this triggered a larger debate about scientific temper, role of astrology in decision-making and governance. After the TVK came in for criticism from its own allies, the Congress, CPI, VCK, Vijay rolled back the decision within 24 hours. And now Shivakumar's elevation and the prediction behind it also drawing attention, also for his financial standing. In fact, the news has been doing the rounds. He is poised to become the richest chief minister in the country with assets of over 14 billion Indian rupees. He surpasses the Andhra Pradesh chief minister, who declared assets of 9.31 billion Indian rupees in his 2024 affidavit. Meanwhile, actor-turned-politician Vijay standing third on the list of the richest chief ministers in the country, having assets over 6 billion Indian rupees. Those figures on your screen. Now, until the TMC lost the West Bengal election in May this year, Mamata Banerjee had the lowest assets among chief ministers in India at 1.5 million Indian rupees, and she has now been replaced by the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah with declared assets of just over 5.5 million Indian rupees. Just above him, the new West Bengal Chief Minister Suvendu Adhikari and also the Rajasthan Chief Minister. And while the tensions are peaking once again in West Asia, a new report showing just how dangerous the last round of war was. Months after the American strikes hit Iran's oil infrastructure, scientists have uncovered what may be one of the biggest hidden shocks of the conflict. Satellite data now revealing a toxic cloud so massive, so fast moving, it behaved like a volcanic eruption in the sky. Take a look.
Israeli and U.S. forces bombarded Iran for 6 weeks. The attack was relentless. Fighter jets and missiles rained down on strategic Iranian targets. Iran hit back hard. It continuously rained missiles and drones, battering American bases across the Gulf. Israeli targets were also pounded repeatedly. At the time, the focus was on missiles, retaliation, and the threat of a wider regional war. But high above the battlefield, another disaster was already unfolding. Now, a new revelation shows the ferocity of the attacks. A single day of attacks on 4 Iranian oil refineries produced as much sulfur dioxide as a volcanic eruption. According to a study published in the journal Advances in Atmospheric Sciences, fires caused by Israeli airstrikes launched on Iranian refineries and storage facilities on March 7 emitted a total of around 33,000 tons of SO2 by March 8. Researchers say the scale was comparable to pollution released during a volcanic eruption. The cloud did not stay over the flames. It drifted across borders. It spread over major population zones. It carried one of the most dangerous pollutants into the atmosphere at extraordinary speed. Sulfur dioxide can trigger breathing problems, damage ecosystems, and generate acid-forming pollution. Scientists tracking the event watched the plume expand like a giant atmospheric scar, stretching across the region. The discovery is now raising fresh questions about the environmental cost of modern warfare, and the timing is explosive. The latest revelation is about what the fires left behind. A toxic cloud the size of a volcanic event. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, before we go on any further, a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We get to the story of a pill that could become a game changer in cancer treatment. This is coming up shortly. Is Trump bigger than Elvis Presley? The US president certainly thinks so. We get you the complete story in just a bit. When will the megastar Vaibhav Suryavanshi make the Indian men's senior team? We tell you all that you need to know. All this and lots more coming up. Pancreatic cancer is the 6th most common cause of cancer death globally. And now a new drug is being hailed as one of the biggest breakthroughs in decades, as it can potentially double the survival time in patients diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. This was basically part of a clinical trial's findings on the drug. It was presented at the American Society of Clinical Oncology's annual meeting in Chicago. The trial involved 500 patients from North America, Europe, Asia. All of them had pancreatic cancer. How exactly is this drug effective? As per the research, it reportedly works by targeting a protein that fuels the growth of all pancreatic cancers. As a result, patients who took this drug reportedly lived substantially longer for an average of 13.2 months as compared to 6.6 months for patients who had chemotherapy. That's not all. Apart from extending the lives of the patients, the drug taken once daily also caused fewer side effects as compared to chemotherapy. For example, 43.6% of the patients on the drug experienced severe side effects, in contrast to 57.5% of those on chemotherapy. And why is this significant? Pancreatic cancer is often detected late, as the symptoms do not appear in the early stages. Limited treatment is available, and more than half of the people with pancreatic cancer die within 3 months of the diagnosis. And this form of cancer also has one of the highest recurrence rates. In another crucial breakthrough, researchers found that an injection shrank the tumors in over 1/3 of the patients with head and neck cancer. Among the 102 individuals who were administered the jab across 11 countries as part of a clinical trial, tumor was completely eradicated in 15 patients. And as per the researchers, the injection showed similar results in patients with lung cancer as well. Amid this, a recent report has laid bare just how cancer will continue to remain a major health crisis around the world, both in terms of the growing cases and what could be a manpower shortage. As per a report published by Lancet Oncology, the situation is dire, with 1 in 3 cancers globally not being diagnosed at present. However, the crisis is set to worsen, with the report predicting a 21% increase in cancer incidence. While about 20 million people are diagnosed with cancer annually, it can rise to 35.3 million by 2050 itself. It also projects a shortfall of 100 million cancer care workers by 2050, which includes about 65 million nursing staff and 16 million diagnostic staff. The report recommends that investing in cancer workforce can avert 170 million cancer deaths between 2030 and 2050 and deliver $120 trillion in net economic benefits. Let's now talk about artificial intelligence, which is reshaping workplaces across the world, of course, in America as well. A new study suggesting that millions of workers could soon face major changes to the way they earn a living. While at the same time, memory chips are driving a historic stock rally across the Wall Street, sending shares of tech companies soaring. A framework published by OpenAI offers a preview of how AI could actually affect the US labor market in the near term. While the analysis shows that nearly half of all jobs, around 46%, are likely to experience little immediate impact from AI adoption, the study also indicating that change is coming for a large section of the workforce. Around 24% of the jobs could undergo significant reorganization as AI takes over certain tasks while workers shift their focus to others. More notably, OpenAI's research places roughly 1 in 5 jobs, or 18%, in the high-risk category for automation. At the same time, only about 12% of the jobs could see growth as AI lowers costs, boosts productivity, and expands the demand for specific services. In fact, while the report stresses that AI exposure does not automatically mean job losses, instead outcomes depend on factors like the continued need for human involvement and whether rising demand can actually offset efficiency-driven reductions in labor requirements. The findings suggesting that AI is more likely to transform job responsibilities and workflows than eliminate entire professions overnight. At the same time, a Bank of America report is also sounding the alarm on AI and its impact on global employment. The report says 24% of the jobs worldwide, or roughly around 838 million positions, are exposed to generative AI. And that's not a distant threat. It's happening right now. According to the report, high-income countries face the greatest risk. Around 33% of their workforce is exposed. And for around 6% of the roles, the exposure is at its highest level. By contrast, low-income countries face far less disruption, their exposure sitting at 11%, roughly one-third of what the wealthier nations are seeing. Even as workers and countries weigh the risks, investors are betting heavily on AI's future. According to Dow Jones market data, chip stocks helped drive the S&P 500 up 16% across April and May. A 2-month rally matched reportedly only 4 other times since 1950. Analysts at Goldman Sachs have reportedly raised their year-end target for the index to 8,000 from 7,600, citing strong earnings and growing demand for AI infrastructure. Even as the markets continue to navigate concerns over the West Asia conflict and the rising inflation, for now it appears AI is creating both opportunity and also uncertainty, fueling a Wall Street boom on end while raising serious questions about the future of work itself on the other side. And the debate over Trump's successor is gaining momentum as questions over his health report gaps continue to grow. This new health report released by the White House comes as the US president is approaching his 80th birthday. And it also raises as many questions as it answers. After undergoing his 3rd in-person medical exam in just 13 months, Trump has been declared to be in excellent health and fully fit to carry out the duties of Commander-in-Chief. But unlike previous presidential physicals, the Wall Street Journal reports that the White House has chosen to release only a brief summary and not the full medical report. The decision has triggered a fresh debate, of course, about transparency, particularly given Trump's age, his highly demanding schedule, and visible signs that have also repeatedly sparked public speculation and questions about his health. Wall Street Journal saying the summary released by the White House physician states that Trump's cardiac, pulmonary, vision, cognitive examinations were largely normal. It notes that the president continues to take cholesterol-lowering medication and a low-dose aspirin regimen. The report also saying he scored a perfect 30 out of 30 on the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, which is a test of memory, attention, and other cognitive functions, basically. But then critics and medical experts, according to WSJ, point out that several details normally included in presidential health reports are missing. The WSJ report says the administration did not release specific results from cardiac tests, blood work, or other diagnostic screenings. And there's also no explanation reportedly for a neck rash that attracted a lot of attention earlier this year, remember? Nor are there updated details about the skin conditions that also triggered speculation that were reportedly disclosed in previous physicals. The Wall Street Journal further saying that the report does address the frequently noticed bruising on Trump's hands, attributing it to soft tissue irritation caused by regular handshaking combined with aspirin use. However, questions persist because the bruising has been visible on multiple occasions. At the same time, reports of swollen ankles, repeated instances of apparent daytime drowsiness during public events, and other visible health signs have continued to fuel speculation about whether there may be underlying conditions not fully disclosed in the summary. That has been a part of the speculation. The debate is further intensified by Trump's age. He's already the oldest person ever to assume presidency and will turn 80 this month. His health has therefore become a major political issue, especially as he frequently criticizes former President Joe Biden over questions of age and mental fitness. And the timing of the report has also reignited discussions about the Republican Party's future leadership. In recent interviews, Trump has praised Vice President J.D. Vance as fantastic and has described him as a capable leader with a bright future. While Trump has stopped short of formally anointing a successor, his positive comments about Vance have only added to speculation about who could eventually lead the MAGA movement beyond the Trump era, for example. And for now, the White House insists there is nothing to hide. Are you an Elvis Presley fan? Let me ask you, is Donald Trump, according to you, bigger than the king of rock and roll? Well, Trump definitely thinks so. And he has reportedly claimed he was much larger than Elvis Presley. This comes after several artists withdrew from a concert series linked to his administration's celebrations of America's 250th anniversary. But Trump is unfazed to the extent that he has reportedly suggested he could replace the performers himself. And are you wondering if Trump is going to sing himself? With Trump, you can never know, but as of now, reportedly, he has suggested that one of the planned concerts in Washington, D.C. could be turned into a political rally, delivering what he described as a major speech instead. Here's what happened. On Friday, reportedly, several musicians distanced themselves from Freedom 250. What is that? In case you're unaware, it's basically a public-private partnership established by the Trump administration to commemorate the 250th anniversary of American independence. The artists were reportedly supposed to perform during the Great American State Fair, a series of events that will take place in Washington, D.C. between June 25 and the 10th of July. And why did the artists pull out? Many of the artists who pulled out reportedly said they had been misled about its political stance. And with the artists backing out, the updates definitely would not have been music to Trump's ears, who then put out a rant essentially suggesting that he could be the replacement act and replace the scheduled entertainment event with a rally headlined by him. What happens here onwards remains to be seen, and we've definitely not heard the last of this. The 2026 season of the IPL was all about one player, 15-year-old Vaibhav Suryavanshi. And if there is one question that seems to be on every Indian cricket fan's mind right now, it is, when will he make the Indian men's senior team? Suryavanshi has not yet been selected for the men's senior team, remember, although he starred in India's Under-19 World Cup triumph early this year and has been picked for the India A team. But there is a high-profile white ball tour of England coming up in the summer. And many believe he must make at least the T20 team. Despite the enormous depth of talent at India's disposal, he has shown that he belongs in the Indian team. If a T20 World 11 is picked right now, he would be one of the contenders for the opening spot, for example. So it's only fair that he gets a shot with the Indian team, many believe, given his historic season in the IPL where he dominated the best bowlers in the world. The 15-year-old prodigy collected 5 awards on the final day, underlining his extraordinary impact throughout the tournament. The Bihar-born batter was the talk of the town during the entirety of the tournament. He finished as the highest run scorer, with 776 runs at an exceptional strike rate of 237.30. His consistent performances for Rajasthan Royals, including a record-breaking 72 sixes, helped him surpass several long-standing IPL records this season. At just 15 years and 65 days old, to be precise, he is the youngest Orange Cap winner. The previous record was held by Gujarat Titans opener Sai Sudarshan, who won it at 23 years and 231 days in 2025. Suryavanshi also won the Most Valuable Player and Best Emerging Player awards. In fact, he is the first player to win both the MVP and Emerging Player awards in the same season. And that's not all. Suryavanshi also took home the Super Striker of the Season and Super Sixes of the Season awards. He even won a Tata Sierra SUV as part of his prize haul. But he cannot drive it yet because the minimum legal driving age in India is 18, remember. The other award winners, in fact, being Rabada, who claimed the purple cap after finishing with 29 wickets in a tightly contested race with Bhuvneshwar Kumar. His Gujarat teammate, meanwhile, Mohammad Siraj, won the award for the most dot balls bowled during the season, and the Punjab Kings received the Fair Play Award, while Manish Pandey's stunning catch to dismiss Tim David during RCB's league stage clash against Kolkata Knight Riders was voted catch of the season. Climbing the world's highest peak is a matter of prestige, to say the least. 73 years ago, the records that were created by the first persons to summit Mount Everest, and with records tumbling fast this year, has climbing Mount Everest become relatively easy? The data perhaps also telling you what's been happening. It took until 1989 for 270 summits of this mountain to be completed. And come 2026, the scenario seems to have changed completely. On the 20th of May, 274 climbers reached Everest, creating a new record for a single day. The previous record, dating back to May 2nd, 2019, when 223 climbers scaled Everest. As per reports, a record 1,008 climbers successfully summited Everest during the 2026 spring season. And that's not all. Nepal issued its highest number of permits to foreign climbers this season itself. This comes even as a permit costs $15,000 US each, roughly.
This was my 6th time reaching the summit of Mount Everest. Compared to my previous summits, this experience was completely different because there was much heavier traffic this time. On May 20th, alone, 274 climbers summited Everest, according to the official list that came out.
However, this was unimaginable in a way a few decades ago. For instance, in May 1996, tragedy struck as 8 people lost their lives in a span of 24 hours after being stranded on Everest due to a powerful and unexpected storm. As per the Himalayan database, though, the death rate has now decreased to less than 1%. Reports indicating that over 7,560 persons have made it to the top. Now, what's changed in the last few years, if at all? The climbing landscape on the mountain, vastly different, with huge improvements to safety and communications. For example, availability of oxygen and medical supplies and doctors throughout the route has improved. And what has also made a pivotal difference is the better weather forecasting. So the primary climbing season occurs in spring. Reports suggest that about 1,200 different companies offer Everest climbing services.
Climbing has now become more comfortable because of internet facilities. Up to Everest Camp 2, we can check the weather conditions before ascending. The main cause of accidents is weather, and it is the primary risk factor. Compared to the past, there is now less risk and fewer accidents on Mount Everest.
As Nepal celebrated the 73rd Everest Day on the 29th of May to commemorate the first successful summit of Everest, Its tourism minister, in fact, issued a timely warning about growing environmental risks regarding the world's tallest peak. Listen to this.
Mount Everest and all the mountains are at big risk because of the increase in global warming. Snow and glaciers are rapidly melting, and the people who live in the area are facing difficulties.
And overcrowding has also renewed calls for tighter regulation on the mountain. In December last year itself, Nepal approved a clean mountain strategy, which may cost over $1 billion over a 5-year period. It incorporated the usage of drones to collect waste from higher altitudes and payment of a refundable garbage deposit by the climbers as well. Have you ever taken a big bite of an ice cream and suddenly felt a sharp, shooting pain through your forehead? Many people could dismiss it as a harmless brain freeze, as it's called. But scientists say that that brief burst of pain could actually reveal more about your health than you might imagine. Researchers have found that ice cream headaches, as they are called, may run in families and could even be linked to a person's tendency to suffer from migraines. Scientists refer to brain freeze as a cold stimulus headache. And according to researchers, it occurs when extremely cold food or drinks rapidly cool the roof of the mouth or the back of the throat. And that sudden drop in temperatures causes the blood vessels to narrow quickly and then expand again to restore the normal blood flow, basically. Experts explain that pain-sensitive fibers around these blood vessels connect to the nerve which carries pain signals from the face and forehead. As a result, people feel the discomfort in their forehead or head rather than inside their mouth as such. But doctors say prevention is quite simple. They advise people to slow down when consuming very cold foods and beverages, giving the roof of the mouth time to warm up between bites or sips can actually help prevent brain freeze from happening if the headache has already started. Scientists recommend warming the roof of the mouth. One common method is pressing the underside of the tongue against the palate. A warm drink may also help ease the pain more quickly. Researchers have also uncovered a surprising connection. Researchers, in fact, reviewed 4 decades of scientific studies involving participants from several countries. They found that brain freeze often runs in families, meaning children whose parents experience ice cream headaches are more likely to experience them as well. The research also found a strong link between brain freeze and migraines. According to the researchers, people who suffer from migraines generally experience more intense cold stimulus headaches. One study found that 93% of migraine sufferers had experienced ice cream headaches, compared with only about 1/3 of the people who did not suffer from migraines. So basically, if brain freeze happens to you often, experts say it may be worth paying closer attention to your overall headache history. Shifting focus now, when Arsenal defender Gabriel blasted his penalty over the bar in the Champions League final against PSG, the silence was not limited to North London. From Lagos to Nairobi to Kampala to Dar es Salaam, millions of Arsenal supporters across Africa felt the heartbreak as the Gunners missed out on European glory in a penalty shootout loss to PSG. And that raises an important question here. Why does Arsenal command such a massive following across the African continent? In fact, for decades, Arsenal built a special connection with African fans, whether it was the club's attractive style of football in the late 1990s and early 2000s, or Arsenal's rise coinciding with the expansion of television networks across Africa, providing regular television coverage of the Premier League during the same period, or the success of African stars like Kano, Alex Song, Thomas Partey, turning the Gunners into a household name across the continent. But then above all, one most important reason, in fact, the defining switch perhaps came when Arsene Wenger became the club's manager in the year 1996. Throughout his career, he signed some of the most Premier League defining players from the African continent, a practice that was rather limited prior to his arrival. Such was its impact that by the time he left the club, 22 years later, in 2018, the signing of African players had become a norm, not just in England, but across Europe. Wenger, in fact, has been often attributed in helping developing many African prospects to football superstars. In fact, while no single official continent-wide count exists, studies and fan surveys have consistently placed Arsenal among the most supported clubs in Africa. BBC research using social media data found Arsenal to be the most popular club in several African nations, including Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Morocco, Ethiopia, Algeria. Since 2018, under the conclusion of the 2025 to 26 season, Rwanda and Arsenal had a landmark 8-year partnership, which saw the Visit Rwanda logo feature on the club's shirt sleeves, remember? Many football analysts and supporter groups regard Africa as Arsenal's largest fan base outside the UK, with official Arsenal supporters clubs operating across dozens of African countries. So when Gabriel's penalty missed the target in Budapest, it was not just a defeat for Arsenal's players, it was a moment of collective disappointment for one of the club's biggest and most passionate global communities. The trophy may have eluded Arsenal this time, but if the reaction across Africa is any indication, the Gunners' grip on the continent remains as strong as ever. James Bond may have a license to kill, but apparently his literary universe does not have a license to drive an Aston Martin. Author Wasim Khan has said reportedly he was forbidden from using an Aston Martin in a new James Bond spin-off novel, he claims. This comes even though the car has become one of the most recognizable symbols of the 007 brand. Khan has been chosen by the estate of Ian Fleming to write a new series of novels focused on Q, who is Bond's brilliant quartermaster and gadget master. He says he was given creative freedom to develop his own version of the character and craft new storylines, but that freedom came with a few important conditions. One of them, no Aston Martins, allegedly. For decades, the image of James Bond and an Aston Martin have been almost impossible to separate. From high-speed chases to gadget-filled getaways, the car has become as much a part of the Bond mythology as the tuxedo or the martini, for example. But the reason lies in the business of Bond as such. The Aston Martin connection is largely a creation of the films rather than the original novels. Over the years, the car's association with 007 has evolved into a valuable cinematic trademark. The corporate change, including Amazon's billion-dollar acquisition of MGM, the studio that controls the Bond film series, can also be seen as a major reason, perhaps. With the new Bond film in development, a search underway for the next actor to play 007, fresh projects expected across multiple platforms, the guardians of the Bond brand appear determined to keep their most valuable assets locked in the garage, it seems. So while Q may still have access to extraordinary gadgets in the new novels, one of the world's most famous cars will remain parked firmly as far as the movies are concerned, reportedly. The month of May ended with a rare celestial phenomenon. A blue moon rose on the last day of the month. This is when a second full moon rises in a calendar month, and this event only takes place once every 2 to 3 years as such. It's also thought to be the origin of the phrase once in a blue moon. Here's a look at an actual blue moon, which was seen around the world last night. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of GRAVITAS tonight. This is me, Molly Kampir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
WION asks what matters. The question the world wanted answered.
We're having a lot of racist comments coming from the United States against Indian Americans. So this would at least be supervised to bring the US relationship. What's your take on that?
Look, I'm sure that there are people that have made comments online and other places because every country in the world has stupid people. I'm sure there are stupid people here. There are stupid people in the United States that make dumb comments.
One question, one exchange, global reactions. When WION asks, the world follows. Get the WION edge.
Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
breaking news.
And raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
Campaigns
trends, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power on WION.
Hello, you're watching WION Pulse. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. Up ahead, we get you all that has been making news across the world, starting with what has been happening between Iran and America. Iran has now reportedly ended the negotiations with the United States as far as the Lebanon issue is concerned. We get you more on what happens next and how this entire negotiation stops the peace process. This and much more up ahead. But first, a quick look